From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
Live from the heartland here in the shadow of Detroit, a very cold Detroit today as this big storm moves in. Cold temperatures everywhere, a frigid Friday, but still fighting for you for the Foxhole Freedom. Do it every single day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour on this brand new day. Let's see. Number one, President Trump and his legal team have filed a $5 billion lawsuit against J.P. Morgan Chase and Jamie Dimon. Why? For debanking the Trump Organization without warning in February of 2021. Number two, 7 Democrats jump ship to support the $1.2 trillion spending bill, which means no government shutdown, and theatrics from Democrats trying to perpetuate terrible policies. And number three, another huge week in the news. First, there was all the Davos speeches, and the highlight, of course, President Trump laying out his vision on numerous issues, including the future of NATO and what will happen to Greenland. And by the time he left, he announced a deal in principle is in place that will give us exactly what I told you we would get, operational control of Greenland. He also put together the Board of Peace to execute a complete end to the hostilities in Gaza and beyond. Also this week, more unrest from the far-left agitators that are attacking anyone who supports ICE, including the federal agents themselves, and then blaming them. 3 of those radicals now arrested for raiding a Minneapolis church service Sunday. More arrests on the way. And then yesterday, Jack Smith gave a very weak performance on Capitol Hill, trying to defend his lawless pursuit of then former president and candidate Donald Trump. Here's part of what Jack Smith had on the Hill yesterday. Listen.
Was Speaker McCarthy a flight risk?
He was not.
He was not. Then why did your non-disclosure order refer to him as a flight risk? It says right here, the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure will result in flight from prosecution.
Sir, when securing a non-disclosure order, the risks don't have to be associated.
You think that the Speaker of the House is a flight risk?
The question?
No, this is not your time. This is my time. You think the Speaker of the House is a flight risk? You think he's going to hop on a plane and leave the country?
No, what I was trying to explain is with respect to a non-disclosure order, the risks aren't necessarily associated with the subscriber to the phone. They're the risks to the investigation.
I think that you were using, this was clearly in reference to Speaker McCarthy, and you were using clearly false information to secure a non-disclosure order to hide from Speaker McCarthy and from the American people the fact that you were spying on his toll records. But I've got more.
In fact, Chip Roy from Texas was there, said, I just found out I was on that list of people whose phones were tracked and information was documented just a few weeks ago. This happened 4 years ago. How do people defend themselves against such encroachment if they're never told? And with that, let's kick off Free Speech Free for All Friday, your chance to weigh in on all of it. Free Speech Free for All Friday, powered by the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline at 877-310-9966. 877-310-9966. Let's get started. Joseph in Columbus, Ohio is with me. Joseph, how are you?
Yes, sir. My wife and I are both senior citizens, and we live mainly, in fact, all of it, we live on Social Security and the small pensions we have. What I'm trying to understand is why they say they're full disclosure as far as for hospital bills. You get an itemized for program where they have a list of stuff they've done to you,
right,
without full disclosure, and it's terrible. It's not the only one. We have the same trouble with insurance companies. Every year they adjust rates or whenever they feel like it.
No, healthcare is a disaster for that reason. They don't know what they're charging people. That's part of the problem. Go on.
Well, yeah, same thing with taxes. I received a property tax bill. I think we have to pay it by the end of the month. It just made sense. And as I said, the insurance people, they're readjusting our rates, but we can't pay the bills if we don't know what we're supposed to be paying.
Thank you for the call, Joseph. You're exactly right. The point of this, and one of the things that we have to have solved in this country, when you go to the hospital, I get procedure X, whatever it is. It's called an MRI. It's an easy example. If you have this insurance, you get this rate. If you have that insurance, you get that rate. If you don't have any insurance at all, you get the cash rate. You're exactly right. And when it comes to property tax is egregious. It's a way to force people like you, senior citizens, out of their homes. It's wrong. It's wrong. Find a different way to tax people if you need the revenue. Fact of the matter is, when the market goes up and somebody's on a fixed income like Social Security and a pension like you are, Joseph, the problem is there's no way to keep up. People get squeezed, crushed, run over by the government. You never really own anything if they're taxing it. It's a great call. It's a big concern. Not sure how we fix it. Leona in Virginia, well, we just fix it. Demand it gets fixed.
Good morning, Mr. Gruber.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I've been trying to call you for most of the year with something pressing on my heart.
All right.
I was born and raised in Philly. I lost my only granddaughter in Philly to a place called the Heroin Hub, which is located in Kensington in Philadelphia.
Sounds like a nice place.
They even did a documentary on it on Intervention, season 20, episodes 1 through 4. They have a listing on the dark web for drug users to go there for vacation. Only problem is they don't stop. They stay.
Or they don't leave because
I
they
was
die.
hoping
But
and
go
praying
on.
someone would direct my president to send in the guard and clean that up. People die all the time down there. The police know it. The politicians know it.
What do you call it again? The heroin what?
The Heroin Hub, HUB.
Heroin Hub, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Remember?
In Kensington, specifically.
Yeah. It's sad. This is the
people
scourge
know
of
it.
drugs.
The police know it. They turn a blind eye. The politicians know. This is for years. My granddaughter died in 2017. It was a heroin
let me
hub
ask you
that
this,
is
Leona.
still going.
Well, what affiliation is the mayor of Philadelphia? Oh, isn't that the same city who said they will not work with ICE just recently? Same group of people?
I am absolutely certain.
Yeah, absolutely certain. So am I, Leona. Thank you for the call. The problem with what she just outlined is not unique to Philadelphia. Can you imagine the people of the 1950s and 60s, even the 70s, when some of these cities got pretty rough, before they turned a corner and came back in the 80s under Ronald Reagan in the 90s? Now we're going back down this other direction. Have been there for a while, as she pointed out. Drug users, crime, violence, rape, murder. Although I do have good news on that front. The murder rate in America is at a 50-year low. Happened in 2025. America's murder rate and violent crime rate went way down, which is weird because 3.5 million guns were sold in America last year. 3.5 million. And yet the crime rate, the violent crime rate, has gone down to a 50-year low. I guess guns are not the problem after all. Who would have thought that, right? All right, still to come, I've got people from Ohio, Michigan, West Virginia, Tennessee, and Montana, too. Straight ahead on Free Speech, Free for All Friday, 877-310-9966. Well, here's something for you before I jump right back into the phones here. Today could be the day that gold breaks $5,000 an ounce and silver breaks $100 an ounce. It's real close to being there right now. The ratio is 50 to 1. Some people think it's going to be a lot closer to 15 to 1, gold to silver. Wish I'd bought a lot more silver. So it is. I did not. Barb is in Ohio. Barb, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. I love your program.
Thank you.
You're so very welcome. I wanted to talk about words, and one, for example, is czar, referring to Holman as the border czar.
Yep.
And from my high school days in history, czar actually came from a description of describing like tyrant leaders of Russia.
Correct.
And yes, sir. And I will never call Tom Holman a czar. I love him.
No,
but I won't do that. And then
it's funny you mentioned that because I don't ever remember that term being used until Barack Obama's tenure in the White House. Then it was czar this and czar that and, border czar and blah, blah. But you're right. It's a term associated with anybody that got a decent high school education with that sort of thing, right?
Yes, sir. And I also, it acclimates people to things that are actually bad. But then there's the New World Order. And I won't mention his name, but one of the news people on the station referred to Trump's New World Order.
Well, I'm going to agree with that, actually. Barb, thank you for the phone call. There is a New World Order coming into relief, full relief under Donald Trump. For example, the Board of Peace, which, by the way, he has disinvited Canada. Yeah, we don't need you on here. You're of no use to us, which I agree with, by the way. Mark Carney's a terrible thing that's happened to Canada, worse than Trudeau. But when you talk about the New World Order, they had one idea. The globalists have this idea of a New World Order where you, the peasants, are just part of the machine, and they'll dictate what you can do, what you can say, where you can go. There's no freedom. You will comply, and you will be part of the machine, or else you'll pay a price, just like the Chinese social system of keeping track of you, right? The social credit score. That's what they're angling for. And then Donald Trump goes to places like Davos and blows up that narrative. And you look at people like Milei from Argentina that go to Davos and blow up that narrative. And Meloni from Italy that goes and blows up that narrative. People want freedom. They don't want to be part of this machine. They don't want to be cogs in the machine. They don't want to be trampled underfoot. Oh, you peasants, you do this, and the elites will do that. That was their New World Order. Ursula von der Leyen would be the one that would dictate to the peasants from on high as to how we would act and what would be allowed to do. Well, no more. There is a new World Order. It's being reordered by Donald Trump, not just in the United States, but around the world. Whether or not he can hold on in the midterms to the House is another question as to how that's received here. We'll see. Rita is in Michigan. Rita, good morning. How are you?
Hello. There's a couple things I wanted to bring up. One was the propaganda clause that Obama took away, and I'm wondering why we're not pushing that in harder than what we are. I think everyone should be calling their senators and their congressmen to get that pushed in, because that is part of the problem why our country is so divided right now. They're playing with words, and that's another thing. They need to add a clause to that when they put it in to make sure that they can't change the meaning of words, which is what they're doing right now. And also, another thing I wanted to bring up is the fraud. I'm wondering, I have a question about that. When a state gets like billions of dollars from the federal for, say, like the roads or something like that, does the money go straight into the bank, and does it collect interest? And if it does collect interest, where does that interest go? Because I never hear anyone talk about where
does all the money
that
go?
goes.
That's a great question, Rita.
And that is a lot of money if you're given $1 billion.
Yeah, absolutely true.
And that is a way of, funneling some of it into, say, the Democratic Party so they can do their campaigning and things like that.
You hit it exactly, Rita. Thank you for the phone call. The reason this fraud is perpetual, and not just in Minnesota and not just California, but red states too. Now, the Democrats have been exposed for their fraud in Minneapolis, and it's egregious. Billions of dollars. Some say as much as $19 billion they've identified so far. But this money circulates. The money circulates. And where does some of that money end up? Back in campaign coffers. That's why people we just heard testimony again yesterday from whistleblowers saying that they had warned Governor Walz, they had warned Attorney General Keith Ellis there in Minnesota that there was fraud, and they looked the other way because that money's coming into their campaign coffers. It's getting them reelected. They've got a block of voters there. We'll look the other way. You guys just come and vote. Let me get one more in before we hit the break here. Steve from West Virginia, welcome to it. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Steve. I hope you all are doing well.
Cold.
Just a couple of quick things. Jack Smith.
Yeah.
During his testimony, I noticed that the Democrats was all trying to smooth him over. Well, I would have a question about all the pardons that was given to all these innocent people, and Jack Smith probably feels betrayed.
Yeah, probably does.
Another thing is Newsom showing up at the Davos speech for absolutely no reason.
Well, let me tell you something about Newsom, and I appreciate the phone call. You want to stand here as the California governor and criticize the president of the United States here at home? Okay, that's American politics. You do not go on the road to a foreign country and trash talk America. You do not go to Davos, Mr. Newsom, and trash talk the United States of America. That's out of bounds. What the hell is wrong with you? Everybody knows that. You should be held to account for that as well, just for being a lowlife. I'll be right back. Eight 877-310-9966. You guys are stacked up early today. Do your best. We try to do our best here. We like doing this in the spirit of Rush Limbaugh's Open Line Fridays. That's why we do this. And by the way, a Democrat friend of mine who's a lawyer, but he's honest. He's not one of these far-left bomb throwers. He said Jack Smith was embarrassingly bad yesterday. I agree. Jack Smith didn't really follow any of the rules. It was lawless. That's what came out of it. Investigating the Speaker of the House and putting in that he's a flight risk, as we heard in that soundbite here just moments ago, that was just one example of how bad it went for him. Democrats tried to smooth it over, but it's absolutely nonsense. Let's go to Dave in Tennessee. Dave, how are you?
Good morning, Steve. Appreciate you taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Questions I've got. One is about the clergy pedophiles that we were talking about a few years ago, and I don't know that there was anything happened with them except looks to me like it got swept under the rug by Kamala or something like that. And also the gold at Fort Knox. I'm wondering about that. We never did see anything happen with that. I got a chance to talk to Steve Stern yesterday. He's got a plan of action for anybody that wants a plan of action. And I couldn't find any place to put questions on your website.
You can always send me an email at stevegruber.com. Thank you for the call, Dave. stevegruber.com. If you got a question, if you got a big story, something you want to know about, go there. As far as the gold in Fort Knox, I don't believe anybody has been inside. I think it was 1972. They took in news cameras, showed one vault of gold. I believe the gold is probably there. I would like to think so, with gold going to break. Gold's at 4,900 plus today. Any run up today is going to hit $5,000. It's going straight up for the last 7 days. Silver broke $99 here just a short time ago. It's going up as well. Bruno, we're going to have to wait on you, Bruno. I was going to come to you, but I'm not. We don't have enough time. I'll get to you after the break in Montana. For the rest of you, buckle up. I've got a list of things that you need for this storm. If you're not prepared, I'm prepared. Trust me, we can ride out a big storm, but we're not getting drilled with this. Tennessee's going to get hit. North Carolina, all the way from Texas to the eastern seaboard. It's going to be snow. Ice is the big problem. Big ice deposits in places like maybe Little Rock or Charlotte. It's a monster storm. And it's free for all Friday. I'll be right back.
Dan Hicks with Paul Azinger, welcoming you back to the Healthy Stand Classic. And
all right, back to it now. This part of the program brought to you by my friends at Patriots Relief. If you're dealing with aches, pains, or everyday discomfort, it's time to check out Patriots Relief. And right now, they're offering 46% off site-wide all week. Use the promo code Gruber, real relief at a serious discount, even better, free shipping. Nothing holding you back. Don't guess, don't wait. Get relief that works. Go to patriotsrelief.com. Promo code's Gruber. You'll save 46%. I don't even know how they make a nickel on that deal. I have no idea. Speaking of relief, dry January, apparently a thing. I didn't really know much about it, but it's a thing for the liquor companies. They're floating in the stuff. They could float a battleship with the amount of liquor that's sitting on the shelves right now. Billions of dollars worth. There should be a sale. There should be a Friday sale on liquor around this country so that when you're snowed in or whatever. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I'll tell you more about that coming up. Let's get back to the phone lines. Bruno, as promised, from Montana. How are you?
Good morning, Steve. I love your show. I watch both your programs every day. I don't miss.
Thank you. Hey, tell me where you are.
A little different.
Tell me where you are in Montana.
I'm in Florence, Montana, and it's cold.
Where's Florence?
It's about 10 degrees right. Florence, Montana.
Yeah, where? Where is that?
It's between Missoula and Hamilton, Montana.
All right. Montana Cafe, Hamilton. Love that place. Hank Williams Jr. and all that stuff. Anyhow, what's your question?
Anyway, I want to talk about something a little different. My wife had just been terminated the day before Christmas from AutoZone. AutoZone Montana is not an at-will state. They have to tell her why. They won't tell her why they fired her. Here's the thing. I've been with AutoZone 20 years too, indirectly. I've kind of been there. I know all the little secrets. AutoZone has hundreds of stores in Mexico. The only way the management can get to those stores is by Mexican cartel escorts. It's a fact. I know this from one of the managers that used to work there. He retired, and he's told us everything. Here's the thing. They replaced my wife, and I'm not racist at all. I have a lot of Mexican friends. They replaced my wife with a Mexican guy. Not only that, two more district managers came in, and they're Mexican. They're replacing everybody there with Mexican people.
All right, so this brings me to now hold on right there. There's a brand new book out called The Silent Coup by Peter Schweitzer.
Yep.
I just ordered it.
Okay.
And he pointed out on an interview I was listening to on the radio, I listen to the radio too, by the way, that we worry about China. China has 7 consulates in the United States. Mexico has almost 50. 50.
Wow.
So when you think about the invasion of this country, he also said that there are members of the Mexican parliament that represent constituents, none of which live in Mexico. Every one of them lives here. I think this is a must read, The Silent Coup by Peter Schweitzer, because what you're describing falls completely in line with what I was listening to on his program. And that is pushing these folks into our country, Remember, we bought the land in 1846. It's not stolen ground. It wasn't won in a war, whatever. We won the Mexican-American War, but we paid money for the parts that are Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, whatever.
Right. I'm a 72-year-old Marine Corps veteran, and I keep up with this stuff.
Yeah.
I come from a family of 4 Marines. I'm Vietnam era. But this is ridiculous what I'm seeing. And I've been picketing and protesting the store for the last, since they fired the day before Christmas.
Well, do me a favor,
and
Bruno.
They still won't.
Do me a favor.
Okay.
Go to stevegruber.com. Keep me up to speed on this. Send me an email. I got to get to some other callers here, but I'm really interested in your story because I think it's worthy of a documentary. If Schweitzer's book is right, and he's always right, this is a concern that we should all be paying attention to, because while we're looking at China and other things, and the open border is now closed, but did we get it closed too late? Bruno, thank you for the phone call. Really important. That book by Schweitzer, by the way, we're trying to get him on the program, The Silent Coup, and it's talking about all these folks coming to us and living here and planting their Mexican flag here. You can make of it what you want. Levon is in Florida. Levon, how are you?
Hi. I love your show.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking my call. I hope you're staying warm out there.
Not really.
My question is there any way to know if the paid agitators are paying taxes on what they're receiving from these people?
Great question. Hey, how do you file your tax return? What's your profession? Professional protester. Which form do you fill out for that? It's a good question.
Absolutely.
And a better question is, the people that are paying these people, are they paying their federal withholding taxes? Are they paying their FICA and their Social Security? Are they paying all that? Are they paying workman's comp for these people that go out there and get banged up? I like your question. I like it a lot. I think we know the answer, but I like the question a lot, Levon. That was worth waiting for. Appreciate you. You made me laugh today, and we are not keeping warm. It's 0 here right now. Schools are closed because the wind chill is minus 20 or 25 or whatever. I'm not sticking my nose out there for a while. The dogs are like, they look outside and go, are you out of your mind? Let's see here. Pete is in Tennessee. Tennessee's going to get clobbered by this storm. Pete, how are you?
Yes, sir. 2 quick things. Number one, AI, I hear about how it's so powerful and it can do so much. Has anybody thought about using it to check on all the people in Congress and the up there on how much money they make?
Yeah, Jack Smith thought about that.
Or the families and friends. But one thing they forget about, and I do too, what about all those staffers that stay there? They move around, but they never leave Washington. But when they leave, how much money do they have?
Well,
the other quick thing is on these windmills, all them blades, you see them piled up in mountains down there. What they can do with those things is grind them up and mix them with concrete for parking lots.
Well, there you go. Now, that's what they should do with the windmills anyway, Pete. They're more useful as parking lots than they are as windmills. As far as the staffers go in Washington, serious comment on that. The serious comment is that the staffers never leave. They just shuffle down the hall to the next office. They're there for a number of terms, and they shuffle down to the next office. They never leave. They're the ones that write the bills. They're the ones that enforce everything here in America. They're the ones with real power. You never know their names because they're not elected. Let's get to Don in Illinois before I run out of time here this segment. Don, how are you?
Hello?
Don, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
All right. I like the lady's statement earlier about the czar. I think we were indoctrinated in school with the term czar reflecting as Russia, and Russia is reflecting to communism. But what I want to say is, from personal experience, that the whole immigration thing, I think they really have it incorrect by calling it illegal immigration. It's illegal migration. And with illegal migration, there's quite a difference because it wouldn't give the people a leg to stand on as this is a nation of immigrants. So basically, in Illinois, I know a guy that worked with me, and they also call them taxpayers because they pay taxes at the end of the week. But the fact is, he pays $50 to my $300. But he doesn't report to the IRS. Yes,
it is about migration, and you're right. And that goes back to 2 of the callers already today. Words matter. You see, when they change the words and change descriptions, they're not illegal aliens. They're undocumented migrants. No, they're illegal aliens. That's what they are. They change the words to manipulate the conversation, and they're going to keep doing it. That's why we have to wake up. Well done, Don. I'll be right back. As a kid, I grew up on Flintstones chewables. Those were the vitamins Mom gave you when you were a kid. We're not kids anymore, all right? So Ivy made it her mission here, in mid-2025, to go out and find the best vitamins she could find. Did a lot of research, different companies, different products, and she arrived at Victory Nutrition International. She said, look, there's only 6 products here. It's all science-based. It's all great products. It's a really good company. Let's talk to them. And we did. So we got to meet Jeff Hooks, the president and CEO of VNI, and it was as advertised. Ivy had done the homework. Jeff came in and said, she's exactly right. Look at what we do here. He joins me now. Jeff, welcome back to the program.
Hey, thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be with you, as always.
Yeah, we all grew up on those Flintstones chewables and so forth, but we're not kids anymore. You know, you go to the pharmacy or the local market, and they got a whole shelf full of vitamins, but who knows where they come from, and they make this claim or that claim. That's why Ivy went and did the homework on Victory Nutrition International. Your ingredients are the gold standard. Your vitamins are the gold standard. You guys have really worked hard to come up with formulas that hit the mark, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. And it's, again, I'm so grateful that Ivy did the research, but we are in a very crowded space. We're very unique, proprietary formulations, all created by our science team in-house. As you said, premium ingredients. The recipe can be great, but if you use inferior ingredients, the results aren't going to be there. So we only use premium ingredients. Many of them have their own clinical studies, like we have on our finished products, and many of them have patents just with the ingredients themselves. And then, as I think some of your viewers know, we've got a proprietary absorption technology that ensures that our nutrition gets in. That's one of our taglines: nutrition that gets in.
Right.
One of the things our customers love is, hey, it's not just what's on the label. That's important, but what can the body absorb and assimilate? And so that makes us very unique.
There's 2 things I want to talk about today, 2 of your products I'd like to touch on. Brain Reward is one of them. I mean, how many of you feel tired every day? You're exhausted. You got brain fog. You got all these things you deal with because you got 12,000 things going on every given day. But Brain Reward is one of these formulas that you guys sat and studied and created and came up with something that's just different. Tell the folks about it.
Absolutely. So we created many of your viewers are already in love with our Protovite and Protovite Plus formulas, which are the cellular health, nutrition for the whole body. Our Brain Reward product is nutrition for the computer, that runs the body, and that's our brain. And so we created this formula, our science team, backed by tons of research, clinical papers, and we created it to help give the brain specific food and fuel to help manage stress, improve mental clarity, cognition, focus, memory, concentration. And as you said so well, the Brain Reward product is something I certainly need and enjoy every day. And it's our number 2 selling product, right behind Protovite and Protovite Plus.
And I got to say something about it because it really, it dials me in. But it's not caffeine. It's not a stimulant. You're not going to have some crash from it because that's not what this product is, correct?
Correct. 100%. It's literally fuel for the brain. It gives the brain the resources the brain needs to allow us to focus, to manage and mitigate stress, and to have mental clarity. And that's something that I think in today's day and age, more than ever, probably is something we all need for sure.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you don't take care of yourself, garbage in, garbage out, make sure you put the right things in. And so I want to come to the next step here because you mentioned it, Jeff, and this is really important. It's all fine and well if you take this vitamin, but if it's not getting in and doing the job that you're expecting it to do, what good is it? So that brings me to the product Enzorb. A lot of products and a lot of issues start with what you're not getting. So we want to make sure, as you put in, nutrition that gets in. How does Enzorb work?
So Enzorb is a really unique formula, nothing like it on the market. It's a metabolic enzyme formula. And so the reality of the modern diet is none of us are getting enough and eating enough raw foods, raw fruits, clean meats, clean vegetables for the most part. And so therefore we're not getting the raw enzymes from real food. And our bodies don't produce enzymes. We can only get them from the foods we eat. And enzymes are what they've been called the spark plug of life. So in other words, every bodily function is dependent on enzymes to include blinking. And so our Enzorb formula is a metabolic enzyme. Yes, it helps with digestion. We've got a clinical study that all the participants showed boosted immune system, a strengthened immune system, and improved sleep. So those are two that think we get that feedback consistently from our customers. But to your point, Enzorb itself helps the absorption of all the other nutrients from our diet, from other supplements, and everything else. So Enzorb is a game changer. You take it right before you go to bed. It'll help you sleep. It'll boost your immune system, and it tastes great, like all of our products.
Yeah, and we're dealing with the worst flu and cold season in a number of years. Take care of your immune system. That's a good lesson to be learned here today. And these products, like I said, we've studied them all. We do have some specials here today that I think are really important for the folks. 20% off for life on these products if you become a subscriber to these products. And why wouldn't you? Because once you try them, you're going to go, man, Ivy was right. Jeff was right. Steve's just doing what he's told. Well, there's truth to that, Jeff. Take your vitamins. I mean, it's the same thing. But 20% off forever if you have a subscription. That's pretty remarkable.
20% off and free shipping. And you're in control. You can decrease that subscription at any point. You can go from 1 month to every other month. You're in complete control. The customer care, and that's one of the things, Steve, that you and Ivy insisted on when you met our vice president of customer care, is that your audience, your community will be handled with VIP gloves like we do with all of our customers. And so, yeah, the subscription's the way to go. And for your viewers, this 20% off and free shipping is ongoing, as you said.
There you go. Jeff Hooks, always a pleasure, my friend. Keep doing the great work you're doing because it's making people healthier every day. And if you're a listener right now, get a subscription, 20% off, free shipping for life. You can't beat it. VNI is the best product, vni.life/Gruber. Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Steve. Have a blessed day.
There you have it. Have a blessed day yourself. vni.life/Gruber. Get that 20% off and free shipping for life with a subscription today. You're going to be glad you did. Victory Nutrition International. I'll be right back. I misspoke here a moment ago, and thank you for correcting me, folks. A few of you, several of you. It's The Invisible Coup by Peter Schweitzer. The Invisible Coup, all right? Talking about this 60 consulates, something like that. 60. Maybe it was 65 as a bunch, anyhow. Let's go to Arlie in Kentucky. Arlie, how are you this fine day?
Pretty good, sir. Just want to give a shout out to you, Ivy, and your crew behind the scenes.
Thank you.
I've got more of a pipe dream statement than a question.
Go ahead.
For all these leaders of these sanctuary cities who support these illegal immigrants, hey, wouldn't it be great to wake up to headlines that ICE detained Governor Walsh and Fry and ship them to Somalia?
Yeah.
They want to support them, let them support them over there.
Yeah, ship them all to Somalia. I don't disagree with you, Arlie. Let's clean up our own backyard, and then we'll move on. Good call from Kentucky. Cleo is in Ohio. Cleo, how are you?
How are you?
What's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm calling. I'm a United States defendant, and my main question is the federal system is being kind of misused. Pam Bondi and her inability to charge people with any crimes, such as the United States people, the federal system worked very diligently to make sure that people were incarcerated. You got Trump's lawyers got incarcerated. You got just everybody who got charged got incarcerated. But now it seems like anybody that she charges get the charges dropped because they're not using a proper procedure. She needs to either change her tactics or take on the lead in these prosecutions herself.
Agreed.
Because they're dismissing.
A lot of people feel the same way. A lot of people feel the same way. Yeah, thank you, Cleo. Got to leave it there because we're at the top of the hour. But our phone calls and our conversations will continue. We do it in the spirit of Rush Limbaugh's Open Lines Friday in reverence to Rush Limbaugh. If not for Rush, we wouldn't be here today having conversations like this, I truly believe. We must protect free speech. Don't forget to follow me right there on YouTube. Become a follower on YouTube. Subscribe there. We're live there every day for 3 hours. It's a great place to be. Click the QR code. Become part of the movement. All right? More of the Steve Gruber Show straight ahead.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, fighting for you from the frigid foxhole of freedom today. It is cold out there. Big storm moving across the country. We'll talk about that shortly. 3 big things you need to know this hour. Number one, 150 million Americans in the path of this monster winter storm that's going to bring sleet, snow, sub-zero temperatures, and worst of all, big amounts of ice from Texas to Florida to the eastern seaboard. It won't be gone until at least Monday on the East Coast. Number two, how radical are today's Democrats? Well, in Virginia, the new governor and Democrat legislature firing up bills requiring LGBTQ, DEI, transgender, climate change theology, and so much more into the classrooms. All right, number three. Let's kick off another big hour of Free Speech, Free for All Friday. Your chance to weigh in on all of it. Free Speech, Free for All Friday, powered by the Patriot Mobile. Common Sense Hotline, 877-310-9966. But first, recognition from some European leaders that they are destroying their own countries. That's right. Listen to this. The German chancellor called the EU a complete failure. Here he is.
We are aware of those problems. Both Germany and Europe have wasted incredible potential for growth in recent years by dragging feet on reforms and unnecessarily and excessively curtailing entrepreneurial freedoms and personal responsibility. We are going to change that now. Security and predictability take precedence over excessive regulation and misplaced perfection. We must reduce bureaucracy substantially in Europe. The single market was once created to form the most competitive economic area in the world, but instead, we have become the world champion of over-regulation. That has to end.
It does have to end, but he forgot to use the one word that really matters. You've become a bunch of socialists, taxing the hell out of your citizens, destroying what could have been a really big opportunity. Instead, the EU, with 100 million more people, has a GDP that's a fraction of the United States. Anyhow, let's get back to the phone calls today. Tina is in Tennessee. Tina, how are you today?
This is it.
Tina, are you ready?
Hello.
All right, go. All right.
Hello?
Never mind. Skip that one. Thank you very much. Ronnie in California, he'll be ready. Ronnie, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Of course you are. What's up?
How you doing, Steve?
Good.
There's definitely we got to get rid of the rhinos and the cartel-based politicians, and we definitely got to work on the mainstream media, and they're a big problem for us. But the biggest problem we got to save this country is the mail-in voting. And I went undercover up in Contra Costa and in Santa Barbara County with the chief registrars of voters, and they contradict themselves, and they pack all the county election buildings with all Democrats, and they cheat so bad, and especially here in California. And it's the mail-in ballots that we got to all pitch in and get rid of. But we all got to try to get election jobs and fill those county elections with Republicans.
We have to.
And that might help us get back on track.
Well, you've got to, because we've got to be there to watch what's going on. There's no question about it, Ronnie. We need observers there. We need people that are making sure it's being done fair. You know, there are laws in places like Michigan, where I live, of how many Republicans and Democrats have to be poll watchers. The Democrats over the last many years have routinely violated that, but it's being held to account now. So in Michigan, I expect more poll watchers that are Republicans who are routinely locked out of the process. Ronnie, thank you for the phone call. It was a good one. Bernice is in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma today. Bernice, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. I want you to know I watch you so much. You're part of my family.
Well, appreciate that. Wait.
I watch RAV
Do I get a bill
You've
for
got
that?
some of the best podcasters.
Well, I appreciate it. Do I get a bill or do I get a present? Anyhow, part of the family.
No,
Bernie's-
it's free. You can have it.
All right. What's on your mind?
But I'm going to tell you, Ryan Walters used to be the superintendent in Oklahoma City over the schools, and he wanted to bring Bibles and prayer back in school. No, he didn't want to take away anything from the curriculum except this, where they were teaching homosexuality. Well, I'm 84 years old, and now I've got 2 great grandkids that have turned to homosexuality because of the day blame schools. And I'm going to tell you, it's a problem in America. This same-sex marriage, I hope they stop it, because that is a sacrilege. It's as if they slapped Jesus Christ in the face, because that is there's 7 holy sacraments, and that's one of the main ones is marriage.
Well, Bernice,
between a
I'll
man
tell you
and a
this.
woman.
I appreciate the call. I'll tell you this. The drive, and it's not just that, it's this transgender thing, which, by the way, is on the decrease, thankfully. The mutilation of children and so forth. We're going to look back at this time and say, what the hell were we doing? How did we let that ever get to that point? But the sexualization of children seems to be a driving factor. I mean, kids in elementary school don't need to know about what do you prefer, who do you like, do you think you're gay? I don't need this in elementary school. Nobody does. It doesn't matter if they're straight or gay or whatever. Don't do that. Let them be kids, for God's sake. I think that's the driving point of all this. Just let them be children. Leave them alone. You've got your issues as an adult, but leave the kids out of it. Jennifer is in Michigan. Jennifer, how are you?
Oh, thank you, Steve. The people of Michigan have got to rise up and get a backbone and start fighting this governor who has a strong affiliation with a company called CMS. They're the owners of Consumers Energy. Everybody here is getting energy bills for over $400 and $500 a month for energy.
Yep.
We are the highest in the nation paying for our gas and light bills. Only second to our auto insurance and homeowners insurance. People, it's not going to get better unless you develop a backbone and start fighting back. These politicians are getting paid off by CMS Energy and Consumers Energy. This is the 4th raise that they are putting before this group to get another raise in your rates.
Bad
For heaven's
policies.
sakes, people, wake up.
Thank you very much. It's happening all over the country. You know, in Michigan, I don't know where it is in the state that you're in, but in Michigan, it's supposed to be 100% renewable energy by 2040. The pursuit of renewable energy comes at an incredibly high cost. Did you hear the man from Germany, the chancellor there, saying what lost opportunities they've had in Europe? They've lost productivity, innovation, too many regulations. One of those regulations that's consistent is this push for the Green New Deal. Donald Trump calls it for what it is, the Green New Scam. It's the biggest hoax ever perpetuated on the planet. And it's been done to kneecap Western civilization and the Western powers. Really, there aren't any Western powers left except one. You're sitting in it. It's pretty sad, actually. Coming up, Phil Kerpen will be here. He says, stop the reckless war on credit cards. How you feel about that? Is he on the right track or the wrong track? We'll talk about it and take more of your phone calls on a Free for All Friday. All right, back to it now as we jump right back into it with our next guest, Phil Kerpen. He is the president of the American Commitment, and Phil is here to discuss credit card rates. The president discussing the idea of lowering and capping interest rates at 10% at least for a year. Phil, welcome back to the program. Nice to see you on a Friday.
Hey, Steve, great to be with you.
And you say stop the reckless war on credit cards. Now, the credit card companies say if you cap our interest rates at 10%, millions of people will be without credit cards because we will just cancel them. What is your take on this whole conversation?
Well, I don't think they have much of a choice. Their costs are higher than that for most of their customers. And so, you can't. The problem with price controls is that when you try to make something cost less than it actually costs, than the cost of providing a service, you make the margin negative and you cause a shortage. The service can no longer be offered on economic terms. And I think when AOC and Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren make similar proposals, and theirs was 15, although after the president said 10, they immediately changed to 10 as well. When they announced that bill, they came out and said, we're going to impose this cap, and if that doesn't work in the private commercial market, that's fine. We'll just have a government lending program replace private consumer lending. And I think that's ultimately where they want to go. That's why I think conservatives should be extra skeptical of the idea that you can make something less expensive by imposing a government price control on it. And you're right, there are a lot of different estimates from the banks. I don't know that we should necessarily believe them exactly because they could be exaggerating it. But I saw one group of bank estimators said everyone under 740 credit score would no longer be able to get credit cards under this cap. Then I saw another estimate that had it at 600. So I don't know if it's going to be 80 or 90% of everyone with a credit card that loses it, or only 40 or 50%. But a huge number of people would no longer be creditworthy under this kind of a rate cap regime. Because credit cards are unsecured loans. There's no collateral. There's a huge risk of non-repayment, and that's got to be balanced into calculating, what the interest rate is. And so,
do you see any workable solution here?
Availability of credit.
Yeah, any workable solution, Phil? Because if you miss one payment, I only know this from days. Well, I don't carry credit card debt. I did in my 20s though. I was like a lot of young people. I had a lot of credit card debt, and the top rate was 29.99%. You miss one payment, bam. It goes from whatever you had agreed to the top legal rate. So there is already a cap on it at 29.99%. Is there any room for movement in your mind? 25%, 20%, anything?
Well, sort of philosophically and economically, I'm not a fan of imposing any kind of price controls. That said, credit unions have an 18% cap now. So if you're worried about, potential high rates and that kind of thing, I would say you look for a credit union card as opposed to a bank card because it will have a lower rate. I think that there are often promotions that are out there. There are often deals. You can sometimes get a 0% rate for, 18 months or 2 years, even on some cards. And so if you're in a situation where you are going to have to carry a balance, or you are carrying a balance, I would tell people to shop around and try to find a more effective deal. But in terms of government policy, I don't think this is a path we want to go down.
Yeah, I did that once, by the way. I found a 0% card, took all the cards that I had over here at whatever interest rates they were. I don't remember, of course, and shipped them to 0% and got the train moving again. I don't carry credit card debt because I think it's dangerous. And this brings me back to financial literacy. We don't have financial literate people in this country. Most of them don't understand money. They don't understand compound interest. They don't understand the interest rates they're paying on their credit card. They don't understand that if you get a $10,000 balance and you're paying whatever you're paying, 20%, 30%, doesn't matter. You're never going to pay it off with your minimum payment, not for years. We need financial literacy in this country. That'd be a good place to start, wouldn't it?
Well, basic math competence would help. We've got schools that are performing extraordinarily poorly. We're almost worse than the entire developed world right now in math. We need to do a much better job in our educational system. I think not just teaching the basics, but it would certainly help if we had personal finance built into the curriculum in some capacity. I think that the tools are out there for people to do much better financially if they learn how. And I don't think you need to limit the availability of financial products, but it sure would help a lot if we help people understand what they were getting into and what the alternatives are.
Yeah. All right, Phil Kerpen. The last question is, do you think this thing will get done, or will it just be, was it a talking point for a moment and they move on?
I don't think they're going to impose it through regulation, but I do think they're going to sort of lean on the banks and try to get them to lower rates because they're in an all-out push right now to turn on all the levers to maximize economic growth. And they really want people to feel the economy booming and to feel a more positive psychology ahead of the election. And I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but I can tell you that one of my credit cards already sent me a letter saying 99% on for this year. So I don't tend to carry a balance, but I do have a card right now that would be under 10% if I wanted to. And I don't think it's a coincidence.
No, it's no coincidence. Phil Kerpen, thank you as always for being here.
My pleasure. Have a good one, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. All right, let's see if we can grab one phone call. Dave in Surprise, Arizona is on the line on Free for All Friday. Dave, what's on your mind?
Thank you so much, Mr. Gruber. Happy Friday, sir.
Happy Friday.
So, yeah, I heard you earlier talking about Peter Schweitzer. He and Admiral Bannon changed my life back in 2019. I read Secret Empire. So the invisible coup is what we've been talking about for decades, if not generations, the way the sociopathic overlords are controlling our lives and ruining our culture and our republic, unfortunately. So this is all part of the flowered Piven strategy as they institute the clergy plan. White people are only 8% of this global population, and they want to take that down to 0 if they can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the call, Dave. Greatly appreciated. Invisible Coup, Peter Schweitzer, brand new book, just came out on January the 20th. We're going to invite him onto the program, see if we can get him here to talk about it, probably for a half an hour at least. What is really going on? Well, Schweitzer digs into it. We'll talk about it here. Nobody else will. It's Free Speech, Free for All Friday. I'll be right back. Here, I'm looking. Free Speech, Free for All Friday. Your chance to weigh in on whatever's on your mind. Keep it clean, keep it on point, keep it short, of course, and we'll get your comments here from all over the country. Dirk is in Connecticut today. Dirk, how are you?
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be on this show. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm sick and tired of what's going on in the country with the Democrats. Now, all you people that are advertising on these stations that support the Democrats with their treason and their domestic terrorism, you people that advertise on these stations, I'm going to boycott you, my local businesses, and I'm going to call the stations and tell them why. So people pick up your phones and call the advertisers and say, stop it. That's simple. That's all I wanted to put out there.
All right, Dirk, thank you for that. I don't think he means this station or this program. I'm pretty sure of that. Do not boycott me. We're doing the best we can. Let's go to Calvin in South Carolina. Calvin, how are you today?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Steve.
Go ahead. How are you, Calvin?
Yeah, I have a couple comments. The credit card thing.
Yep.
That's part of our obesity problem in this country. As soon as you can buy groceries with a credit card, you buy what you want, not what you need.
That's an interesting concept. I don't mind it. I get it. Plus, you get DoorDash and all these other things, right? delivered right to your door. You don't have to get off your couch. You can just sit there and get a Big Mac or whatever, right?
Right. And my other comment is, you were talking about milk the other day.
I was.
They pick up the milk at the dairy, and it's made into all different byproducts. The milk is actually a byproduct, and by the time we get it, they've taken out the butter, they've taken out the heavy cream, they've taken out the half and half, and put back what they want. And there should be an ingredients thing on the gallon of milk you buy.
Calvin, thank you for the phone call. I'm pretty sure it is milk that I buy. Straight up. What do you guys think about raw milk? Are you fans or you're not fans? I don't know. I can't tell you whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. Congressman Tim Walberg will be with me next. We'll get a wrap-up of everything that's going on. Trump's first year in office, building an AI-ready America. What does that all mean to you and to me? And we'll continue with your phone calls on Free for All Friday. You know, at some point you would think that those on the other side of the aisle would realize they've been had, right? But they don't. My latest video going up on social media is a bit of a geography lesson, and you should look at it so you understand where Greenland is, why it's important. It's kind of like the end cap at the end of the first year for Donald Trump in office. Here's a little quiz for you. What country did America sell the most arms to in 2025? The answer, believe it or not, is the Kingdom of Denmark. 7 times we sent over Hellfire missiles and all sorts of weapons of war to protect Denmark. We were never going to war with Denmark. In fact, I would say this deal on Greenland, which the president says is in place now in principle, they're going to work out some details, and everybody gets what they want, and everybody's happy. And all the people screaming on the left are going to go, well, how did that happen? Joining me, Congressman Tim Walberg, to kind of look at this year in review of the president's first year back in office. But it seems to me, Congressman, Greenland, this has been in motion for a while, and all this bluster and all these comments were just kind of positioning, jockeying, and we sold more weapons to Denmark in 2025 than any other country. Most people, I just learned that. I'm like, it was all a set play, and he got what he wanted, didn't he?
I believe he did, and we'll hear more about it. But it's amazing how Trump puts out an idea. Again, he's the art of the deal maker, and it automatically triggers the left to find any way, any shape, any form they can place it in to denigrate what he is talking about and what his plans are. And in the end, he accomplishes it. And it's also interesting that when you look back on the records of time, the time since Trump walked down that golden staircase, and the prognostications he's made, they've generally been right. And I would think that finally the left, especially the mainstream media out there here, or the lame media, would finally accept the fact that if they automatically go against what he's saying, they're going to probably be proven wrong. So here, Greenland is a necessity as we move into a new age where Putin has been allowed to assert himself in many ways. Of Trump saying, no, we're not going to allow the shipping lanes there. We're not going to allow the missiles to come into us over the top of Greenland and Canada. Our Golden Dome is going to be put in place to handle that, but we need a place like Greenland to station those things. And all of a sudden, he walks into this Davos, and the world leaders hear a guy who has leadership, postures on something that's necessary for the entire free world, and we get a deal.
Yeah, and one of
I'm
the
looking
people
forward
that
to
spoke up, and so am I, but one of the people that spoke up, Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, says Trump's right. He's exactly right, and the only people that can do it are the Americans, and it strengthens NATO, what's left of it. It strengthens our defense systems and capabilities in the Arctic and beyond, because, look, Greenland is basically the largest unsinkable aircraft carrier in the North Atlantic. It's a point from which you can do whatever needs to be done to protect the Western nations, right?
Absolutely right. And what's wrong with having rare earth minerals there, deposits that they've not used, Denmark hasn't used, Greenland certainly hasn't used, and it sits there. And right now we've been taking those shipments from China and other places when in fact we ought to be mining our own, which we have more to do, but also developing other places that we can take it from. And no, this is good for the world, just like Venezuela. What Trump did there was good for the world. And the debate that went on in Congress yesterday of trying to put the War Powers Act in place for Greenland when we didn't commit a war there. And there are no boots on the ground. And yet we made the Western Hemisphere safer. We made our own country safer from the drug-running Maduro and the gangs that he was perpetrating and sending to the United States. And we're still trying to get out of places like Minneapolis and Chicago and Los Angeles. I mean, all of this is going on because we have a leader like Trump who's willing to take the slings and arrows and not care about it, just do the job for the United States.
And by the way, a point of fact so people know, on that vote, they being the Democrats, tried to shackle Donald Trump as to what he could do in places like Venezuela, Greenland. Doesn't matter. It failed. They did not shackle the president. Also got the spending bill through with 7 Democrats coming across the aisle to help out. So I don't think there'll be a government shutdown. Doesn't appear to be. So another bit of success there. But I want to go back to the rare earth elements because we need those to build an AI-ready America. And that's a focus of what you're working on right now, making sure America is the world leader in AI going forward, right?
Oh, absolutely. We had a hearing just last week on AI and its impact in education as well as business. but especially education, to find means by which we allow innovation to take place, just like what happened with the internet when we stopped Obama's terrible net neutrality proposal, which was government-run internet, which would have stifled the innovation and development of it. It has dangers, the internet does, and AI certainly has dangers, but it is going to be either China's or ours, and it better be ours. We can use it. We can use it safely. We can use it for the benefit of mankind, for medicine, for agriculture, for manufacturing, STEM issues as well. Doggone it, we can find means by which to expand all our capabilities. I think of just a permitting process. I spoke at an energy group last night, and I said, we've been talking at places that all they want is to shut down energy because it will destroy the world by using its resources, which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Let me ask you this. This is something that's front and center for a lot of folks, including in Michigan, where you and I live. The expansion, the explosion of these numbers of giant data centers, what are these for? Nobody's been able to answer this question for me yet. Why do we need all these massive data centers?
Well, because of all the data that's out there, and it's like saying we have every library in the world. It's capable of giving us a lot, but are there other books being produced? Yeah, there are. And the data centers will allow the rapid dissemination of all that literature, all that material, all the data, the research, you name it, that can be done. And that takes huge computers to keep that data, a lot of chips put there, and a lot of heat that comes from that you have to cool.
Yeah.
And there again is something that I believe that local communities have to decide whether they want a data center or not. But those data centers are going to be somewhere, and they're going to provide significant jobs and significant growth for economies in those areas. We just need to make sure that they're done right, that we take care of water resources, we take care of where they're plotted. And again, if a community, and I've got right now, I believe it's about 3 data centers being considered for my district. One area, I think they like it, and they see the impact that it will be, and it won't be smokestack, it won't be grain haulers going past, but
it's clean.
Again, he's out of side.
Congress, we got to leave it right there for the day. A lot of people facing weather. You're not going to see it here in Michigan, but we will. We'll give you a full report next time. Congressman Wahlberg, always a pleasure. Easy for me to say. Thank you, sir.
We'll be with all the pro-lifers today in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Cold weather for that. Sir, thank you. When we come back, we're going to have Tracy Anthony here from Weather Nation to discuss this big storm and more of your phone calls right after the break. All right, back at it here on a Friday, a frigid Friday. I've been watching this storm. The reporting began on the storm 2 or 3 days ago. You've got this massive push of warm, wet air coming in from the Gulf and from the south, and it's going to collide with this high-pressure system of cold air coming in from those Canadians, those dastardly Canadians sending us cold air again. Well, the result is going to be quite significant. Right now, it's, 3 below here in Michigan, so we're going to have cold temperatures to the north of this line. The big problem is you're going to have sleet, which is not a problem, snow, which is usually okay, except in the places they have a hard time dealing with it. The big problem is going to be ice, I believe. Ice is in, not the federal agents' ice, but the regular ice. How are we doing in there? We got them? All right, so we got Tracy Anthony up here from Weather Nation here in just a moment. There are a list of things you need to be prepared. And this comes to you. I mean, this is just common sense, but I'm going to read it to you so you have an idea. Flashlights, extra batteries. Make sure you have food and water available. A battery-powered NOAA weather radio or portable radio of some sort so you can listen to folks like me tell you what's going on. Extra medications, all of that stuff. You need your first aid supplies, which is, while you have one of these around from the wellness company, these kits are great just in case of emergency, in case you can't get where you need to be. Everything you need in one great place from the wellness company, right? Let's see here. Baby necessities, if you got children in the house, we can take that. All right, so Casey Anthony joining me now as I go through my list of needs here. Casey, how are you? Tracy, excuse me. Tracy, how are you today?
Hey, good morning, Steve. It has been a busy morning here at Weather Nation. We have a massive winter storm. I heard you just going through, some of the prep things to do. That is great because this storm system going to impact 40 states from Arizona to Maine. That's 2,000 miles, and it's going to be impacting over 200 million people. So yes, foremost, today is the day that you may have a few more hours to do some prep, but once we get into the afternoon hours, we are going to have widespread snow, widespread ice, and even some rain and flooding potential across the Gulf Coast states. So we are expecting the rain to transition into a wintry mix, which is going to cause some more issues on the roadways, but we're also expecting power outages from ice accumulation. So that ice gets very heavy, and the precipitation type all depends on exactly where you are and how the dynamics of this system play out. So Steve, I just want to show you these alerts here and how widespread they are, and then we can kind of chit chat about questions you may have. But look at this. This is an expansive, massive system, and it's Gulf moisture that you probably know as the polar vortex. So it's just these two variables coming together at the perfect time for the perfect storm.
So here's what I heard, Tracy, is that at some places there could be as much as an inch of ice. Look, I've been through ice storms. Once you get to about a quarter of an inch, things break, trees break, power lines come down, bad things happen, people are in the dark. You get an inch of ice. That is like a once-in-a-century type devastation, especially as big as this storm is. Am I right about that?
I think I'm losing you, Steve. Can you repeat that one more time?
I just want to know, once you get past a quarter inch of ice, that's when you get real problems. I heard predictions of 1 inch of ice in some places. That would be absolutely devastating, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's expected to be up to an inch and a half, and that's so heavy. We're going to have down trees. It's going to cause treacherous travel, and we could definitely have power outages for a long period of time. I'm talking days, because when you have the cold air then that works in behind this system and behind the precipitation, it's going to stay cold. That ice is not going to melt, and anything that does melt throughout the overnight temperatures, it's going to refreeze. So this is going to cause concerns well into next week. But look at this forecast ice. We are talking anywhere from, a tenth of an inch, which still can cause a lot of damage out there. Think of it like a glazed donut. All you need is that thin layer of ice, and you're slipping and sliding as you get out there. But
Yeah.
areas like Memphis and Middle Tennessee, all the way down through northern Mississippi into Louisiana, this is where we could have the inch to an inch and a half. And this is where power outages are going to be widespread and long duration power outages. And it's going to be extremely cold. So we were warning people all week. So hopefully everyone has a plan. Hopefully they can hunker down and stay in place. The hard thing too with this storm system is they couldn't do a ton of pre-treating on the roadways because a lot of us here across the Gulf Coast states are going to have rain first, and then it's going to transition into some freezing rain and some snow. So that rain is going to wash away any of the pre-treatment that was placed on the roadways. So that is going to be one of the big concerns. But then, Steve, this moves up into the northeast by the weekend. So by Saturday, we're talking a good amount of snow from Kentucky all the way through Maine. And
What a
we're
mess.
talking up to a foot of snow that far north as well.
Yeah, Tracy, what a mess. I appreciate your commitment there at Weather Nation to keep us all on track. Look, folks, be prepared. This is a serious storm. And Tracy, thank you for being here this morning. We'll keep an eye on it for the whole weekend, apparently. Thank you.
Yes.
There you have it. Look, a quarter inch of ice will break just about everything. You get to she's an inch and a half of ice. Big trees will be down. Power lines will be down. You will be without power for an extended period of time if you're in some of those areas. And it goes all the way. Charlotte, North Carolina, also being warned about ice. So there's pockets of ice that could be devastating across this storm. Be prepared. Make sure you look out for your neighbors. And I'm being serious about this. If you've got neighbors, especially elderly neighbors, make sure you don't bust your tail like Anthony did in front of the house a couple of days ago. Don't do that because it looks like it hurts. I thought he was playing. He wasn't. He bought it on the ice. Don't do that, right, Anthony? That hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts.
I fall hard.
He did fall hard. I thought he's a jokester. I thought he was playing with me. I was like, man, he wasn't joking. So just be prepared. Be careful. And like I said, look out for your neighbors. This is when you find out how your community works. When you don't have outside resources. The government's not coming to help, but your neighbors might. Be a good neighbor during this storm, all right? After the break, we'll have sports here on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, let's check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. Another head coaching opening has been filled in the NFL as the Baltimore Ravens hired Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter to replace John Harbaugh as head coach. Minter gets a 5-year deal. There are now 6 head coaching openings left in the NFL. 8 games in the NBA yesterday. Winners included Chicago, Philadelphia, San Antonio, and Portland. A couple of upsets in women's college basketball. 16th-ranked Oklahoma took down 2nd-ranked South Carolina 94-82, and 17th-ranked Tennessee knocked off 11th-ranked Kentucky 60-58. 8 games in the NHL. Winners included Boston, Buffalo, Nashville, and Minnesota. At the PGA Tour's American Express Championship in California, Min Woo Lee and Pearson Coody shot 10 under par 62 to share the first-round lead. And at the Australian Open in Melbourne, Arina Sabalenka and Coco Gauff moved on to round 4, as did Carlos Alcaraz on the men's side. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Brock. I have a question for Ivy. I don't know if she has the answer, but I have a question. We have a backup generator here, so if we get ice and snow and so forth and lose power, it's an auto-fire generator, which is fine. Does the Starlink work even if we don't have power here at ground level, or does it still work for people? Do we know that? So it will work. But what if all right, so she said that when Helene went through Western North Carolina, for example, they brought Starlink in because it would work when other systems would not. So even if you lose your cell phone, but now the cell phones can work by way of Starlink, right? Isn't that the latest thing from Musk is you can connect, at least for text messaging, to Starlink. All these things are out there. We have a Starlink system as a backup here, a lot more affordable than you would think. And so I guess communications will be good. Keep your radios around, keep your communications around. This studio will function, no matter what happens, unless we get hit by a hurricane. And the last hurricane to hit Michigan was like during the Jurassic period, so I think we're probably fine. Just, there were still dinosaurs then. But they had us on the radio then, too. Pretty cool. We'll take a break, take more of your phone calls, 877-310-9966. Send me an email, stevegruber.com. Follow me on YouTube and Facebook and X and Instagram, all the usual places. It keeps Anthony happy. And that's all I care about on a Friday, Anthony's happiness. I'll be right back.
Thanks, Steve.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, let's kick off another brand new hour here of the program. Glad you're on board. It is cold here. We'll talk about that coming up. Here we are fighting for you from the foxhole. Freedom as frozen as it may be. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, charter flights for ICE. Charter flights for ICE putting Willow Run Airport in the crosshairs of, protesters and agitators. Number two, even though the complaints are piling up, Attorney General Dana Nessel in Michigan is lecturing us on corruption. Really, Dana? And number three, it is free speech, free for all Friday. You can give us a call, get on the phone, get on the program. 877-310-9966 is the Patriot Mobile Common Sense Hotline. 877-310-9966 if you are so inclined. Every week, we go through and find the biggest things of the week that we think are interesting. I don't actually have a number one, Anthony. Look at that. Don't even actually have a number one. We'll start with number two, because I found this remarkable. Davos, the meetings in Davos were quite something. A lot of conversations about the New World Order and so forth. Well, it seems that Donald Trump is setting the New World Order. When Mark Rutte and others say he's exactly right about Greenland, for example, it really sets the stage. Now, Finland's president, don't know this guy's name, don't care. But here is the guy from Finland, the president, in one speech, in one conversation, 10 minutes apart. First he says, we don't need America, we can defend Europe, which is a joke. And then he turns around and says, I never said that. It's the dumbest thing I heard all week. Here it is.
First is a direct answer to the question of this panel, can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Without the Americans?
Without the Americans, I mean...
How?
Well, look...
But you're relying on them for these key elements. You've said earlier that Europe can defend itself without the Americans. If it comes down...
not exact, that's not a quote.
More or less, more or less. We'll go back to the transcript. More or less, more or less.
I love journalists.
I love journalists, too, that hold you accountable, pal. You said unequivocally Europe can defend itself. 10 minutes later, he says, I never said that. The tape is so fresh, you can't even get back to it. These are the clowns in Europe. Who would, just think about this. If Russia decided to push beyond Ukraine, for example, who would be in charge of defending Europe? Would it be Poland? France? Germany? The UK? Finland? Who would be in charge? You see, there's your first problem. It's like herding cats over there. Remember, the EU was established to create a prosperity zone. Instead, they buried themselves in regulations and taxes and socialism, and their GDP has continued to fall. They have 100 million more people in Europe than we do in the United States, and their GDP is a fraction of what we do here. Our GDP adjusted for the third quarter, 4.4%. The projection, and that's the final number for the third quarter, the projection for the fourth quarter is 5.4%. We'll see what the final number is. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, says in 2026 we could see GDP at 7%, maybe 8%. And if the Fed would get its act together, which it won't until Jerome Powell's gone, but when it does, those numbers could be even better. Which means more money for the working man and woman, lower taxes from the One Big Beautiful Bill, lower energy costs as we continue to develop American energy resources. And yet the left sits there and heckles and screams and cries and complains. And then you get to Greenland, right? What a deal that turned out to be. I'll get to that in a second, because prosperity in America, Prosperity in Western civilization is not from tax codes, as Donald Trump pointed out to those listening in Davos. Here he is.
The explosion of prosperity and conclusion and progress that built the West did not come from our tax codes. It ultimately came from our very special culture. This is the precious inheritance that America and Europe have in common. We share it. We share it, but we have to keep it strong. We have to become stronger, more successful, and more prosperous than ever. We have to defend that culture and rediscover the spirit that lifted the West from the depths of the Dark Ages to the pinnacle of human achievement. We live in an incredible, changing period. It's an unbelievable time, but we have to take advantage of the time that we're in. In our hands are technologies that our ancestors could scarcely have. I mean, they couldn't have even dreamt some of the things that we see today. And so rapidly they're produced. I mean, AI, 2 years ago, nobody ever heard of the term, and now everybody's talking about it. And it can have some very good purpose. It could also have some dangerous purpose, and for that we have to watch out. But some tremendous things are happening because of it. And we're leading by so much. We're doing so well. But opportunities that are bigger and grander than ever before in human history are right before us. It is the pioneers in this room. Many of you in this room are true pioneers. You're truly brilliant people.
Yeah. Prosperity comes from the culture, not from the tax code. Right? And the president talked about these rapidly changing things. Well, here's something that I heard that I find a bit unsettling. Frightening might be a better word. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, of course, BlackRock, they're not looking out for you, I can guarantee you that. BlackRock does not look out for you. But Larry Fink says that we should get rid of currency, right? And have just blockchain. Here's what he said. Listen to this.
I think the movement towards tokenization, decimalization is necessary. It's ironic that we see two emerging countries leading the world in decimalization, in the tokenization and digitization of their currency. That's Brazil and India. I think we need to move very rapidly to doing that. We would be reducing fees. We would do more democratization by reducing more fees if we had all investments on a tokenized platform that you could move from a tokenized money market fund to equities and bonds and back and forth. We have one common blockchain. We will, we can reduce corruption. So I would argue that yes, we have more dependencies on maybe one blockchain, which we could all talk about. But that being said, the activities are probably processed and more secure than ever.
Here's the remarkable thing. As I look at the charts today, silver right on the verge of breaking $100 an ounce. Just over a week ago, it was $77. $23 an ounce increase in silver. I think people believe in real assets more than blockchain assets, which is nothing more than a place in a computer, right? That should frighten you. It frightens me, and I'm fearless. Right? Steve Doolin next, folks, on the program. He'll be here. The Supreme Court should strike down a law that effectively bans firearms on most private property. We'll talk about that straight ahead. All right, we're sitting here going over the silver and gold prices. Apparently, the Doolin household, they gave away gold coins and, riches when the teeth would fall out. He is the most talented, most accomplished, most giving lawyer, apparently, of all time. Steve Doolin, everybody, here he is. Yeah.
Thanks, Gruber. They were silver dollars from the Tooth Fairy. Yeah.
Solid gold.
Tooth Fairy. Yeah.
Some people reporting a spot silver price just over $100 right now. What a remarkable thing that is. Anyhow, hope your kids saved their silver. I do.
I hope so too. I'll be rifling through their rooms later.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? All right, Dylan. Here's a statistic I saw and heard about yesterday. We had the lowest violent crime rate in 2025 in 50 years. Less murders, less violent assaults, less armed robberies, and so on and so forth, which is weird if you think about it, because we sold 3.5 million more guns in America last year, and yet the violent crime rate went down again. There are more people carrying concealed in America today than at any time in my lifetime. Fact. And yet violent crime goes down. I thought if there were more guns out there, there would be like the OK Corral would happen at, every store every day. But it just doesn't happen that way, does it?
No, and it's not surprising to anybody who actually did their homework. Our friend John Lott wrote, he's on his 4th or 5th edition of More Guns, Less Crime, very well-researched volume. The major source of violent crime wasn't Americans with guns, it was drug gangs with guns. So as the drug gangs get broken up, and as more innocent law-abiding citizens are carrying, the innocent law-abiding citizens are safer. The truth is that your odds of being killed in a gun crime in the U.S. are extremely low unless you're involved in drug gang activity. It's really that simple.
Really is that simple. Which brings me to the next thing here, gun control. Hawaii, still a state last time I checked, trying to evade the Second Amendment. What is this case all about?
Well, yeah. So gun control is like the Hydra. You cut one head off and more grow in its place.
It is kind of like that. Yeah, the tentacles just keep growing and growing. They're relentless. They're like rust. Rust never sleeps. Go on.
Exactly right, especially Hawaii. Hawaii in particular, because for whatever reason, Hawaii is very focused on proscribing, limiting Second Amendment rights as narrowly as possible. So this case was, it's called Wolford v. Lopez. And this case was about the vampire rule, as it's nicknamed, which means this. They changed the default setting by statute so that if I am lawfully carrying a gun, which they're very begrudgingly had to give out licenses after the Bruin case a couple of years ago, that said that we have a right as Americans to carry guns for self-defense outside our homes. So they had to start issuing concealed licenses, but they said, however, if you go onto any private property without explicit permission, you're committing a crime, right? So a lot of the public places we go are private property. And so this very limited your ability to defend yourself outside of your home, which is exactly what Bruin was about. So that rule is what made it up. That challenge to that rule is what made it up to the Supreme Court earlier this week. And during oral argument, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson actually seemed to be favoring looking at the so-called black codes from the former Confederate states directly post-World War, or excuse me, not World War, Civil War, as examples of laws that provided historical precedent for this vampire rule. Because the Bruin case also said no government gun control can survive.
So wait a second. Ketanji Brown Jackson wants to visit laws that were put in place to disadvantage black Americans.
Yeah, I mean, well, the black code specifically, it's really fascinating. In fact, my friend Steve Halbrook, he doesn't know I'm doing this, and I don't get a cut, but he wrote this book called Freedmen, the 14th Amendment and the Right to Bear Arms a few years ago, extremely well researched. And part of this book is a description of how the black codes, which were explicitly racist laws, that had different laws for black people versus white people and used those terms in the statutes. And these were state laws in the former Confederate states.
In Democrat-controlled states, just be clear,
Well, for sure.
Democrat-controlled, right? Go ahead.
Well, all they did is they took the slave codes and changed slave to black in their statutes. That's where the black codes came from. They were literally the rules for slaves, right? And then they added a few and changed a few, but for the most part, it was pretty much just a find replace on the keyboard move, not really, but analogous to slave for black people. And it said different penalties for the same violations. So if a white person got caught in a prohibited place with a firearm, that the white person would get like a $5 fine. The black person would be whipped and fined a lot more money and put in jail. And a lot of times they couldn't afford to pay the very huge fines that were only applicable to black people, and therefore they'd end up in debtor's prison, which was a real thing back then. They didn't have the sophisticated bankruptcy system we have now. So this is what she was looking at for historical precedent. Because the other thing that came out of Bruin, besides we have a right to carry outside of our homes, carry guns, is the government needs a historical precedent in order to justify gun control.
Unbelievable. So I only got 20 seconds here.
Yeah.
This doesn't pass muster, does it?
It certainly shouldn't. It certainly shouldn't. And I'd be, it shouldn't get any votes out of 9 on the Supreme Court.
But it'll get one.
It might get this one, maybe even a couple of more, because people will violate all kinds of principles in order to take away your Second Amendment rights. People in robes on benches will violate deeply held principles in order to do that.
Yeah, and violate the law. Steve Doolin, most accomplished, most talented, best-looking lawyer of all time. There he is, folks. He's here on Fridays. Set your clock. Never miss one. Doolin, have a good weekend.
You too, Gruber. You're a great liar. Thanks.
I should be a lawyer. Hey, easy. All right, we'll be right back. Oh, I have to turn this thing on? Is that how that works?
Yep, that's how it works, Steve.
Yeah, I'm trying to get you something important here.
I know you're new to this, but
I know. I'm trying to get you something important here for you to play on the program, Anthony. And, I've got, I am so multi-talented that I have to do all these things at the same time, right? Here it is. There it is for Anthony. All right. Charter flights for ICE coming out of Willow Run. Creating issues there. Charter flights operated by private contractors working with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement began departing Wayne County last spring, carrying detained illegals to hubs in Texas and Louisiana. Local activists now urging the Wayne County Airport Authority to block the flights. We want rapists. We want murderers. We want criminals to stay in our community. Isn't it interesting? You've got all these activists saying keep these people, but don't put them next to me. Send them, wherever they... Look, nobody wants these people as neighbors. Have you seen the people that we've deported? Have you seen their rap sheets? Come on now. Common sense, please. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Speaking of common sense, NeuroGuard Plus, stop concussions before they happen. Dr. Michael Hutchinson has patented a breakthrough mouth guard for athletes in any sport. It's a game changer. Athletes using NeuroGuard Plus suffer concussions just 0.26% of the time, sometimes even lower. That's almost unheard of, and it gets better. The mouth guard can boost your strength and speed by up to 16%. You can lift more weight, jump higher, run faster, but don't take my word for it. The people at Michigan State and Wayne State, they tested it and certified those results. Protect your brain. Upgrade your performance. NeuroGuardPlus.com. You can save 10% with the promo code Gruber. NeuroGuardPlus.com. You know, some of the highest concussion rates are on women's basketball. Yeah, wear the mouth guard. It goes on your mandible. It's different. Keep your head in the game. Don't get a concussion. Don't go into concussion protocol. My son's been using it in football for several years now. No concussion yet. I hope it stays that way. We do everything we can to protect our athletes. Protect yours. NeuroGuardPlus.com, promo code Gruber. I'll be right back. That's a waste of paper. All right, so there's this movement afoot to increase taxes on the most productive people in Michigan. A 5% income surtax on high earners, yielding a top marginal rate of 9.25%. Also a tax on small businesses that employ nearly 2 million Michigan residents. It's remarkable. I think it's, 5% on individuals that gross 500,000. And so the numbers are stifling for business, for innovation. Why would you come to Michigan if you can go to Tennessee or Florida or Texas? Joining me is Janelle Fritz, one of the study's authors, a state tax policy analyst at the Tax Foundation. Janelle, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
You know, I go through your report, and so it would be 500,000 for single filers, $1 million for joint filers, but for S corporations, for example, things that are pass-through entities.
Right.
A lot of S corporations gross $1 million, but they have 2 employees, 10 employees, 20 employees. Grossing $1 million doesn't mean doodly squat to the bottom line. But people that love taxes don't have any idea, do they? Doodly squat. It's the term of the day, by the way.
I love that term.
Well, you know, tell me about this. This is a disastrous idea. I think they want to put this on. The people behind this want to put it on the ballot. Is that correct?
That is correct. It would be hopefully for them on the ballot in November. But yes, you are right. This doesn't just impact individuals who pay income taxes. This captures small businesses because a lot of people don't realize small businesses often pay their income taxes through the individual income tax. So anyone who is making $500,000 in their business, or if they're a joint filer, $1 million, they are going to be paying this tax. And yes, you're right. The numbers are not great. Our study has looked at the effects on Michigan. It shows that this would cost a lot of jobs. It would impact wages. It would cause outmigration, less innovation. It's not a great idea for Michigan.
Well, let's look at this. Pretty simple stuff here. Pretty easy math, even though most people in America can't do math anymore. You and I still can. 5% of $1 million is 50 grand. That's a full-time job for somebody. So if you have a small business, a pass-through corporation, you're just over the threshold, and you've got a few employees, and you've got overhead of whatever you're doing, $50,000 could cost somebody their job immediately, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up what this costs to small businesses, because small businesses don't just have infinite money, of course. If there is a tax increase, they have to pay for it somehow. There are 3 main ways that businesses can pay for a tax increase. They can either pass it on through higher prices of their goods, which isn't quite as helpful for just a tax that's going on in Michigan, because those Michigan businesses are still going to be competing with other states. So maybe they can't really raise their prices. It could also impact jobs. Either they hire less or they pay the people that they have less, or it could be how much they invest in their business or how much they return to investors. So all 3 of those ways are not great for the state of Michigan.
No, it would mean a big penalty to people here. So do we have any idea, Janelle, of whether they're getting the signatures? I mean, there's this mentality out there, this socialist mentality. If we just keep taxing people more, it'll all be gravy at some point. Well, if you keep taxing people more, it'll be the relentless pursuit of mediocrity, because everybody will be stuck in this middle. And anytime you can't punish the successful people, the innovators, the risk takers, and expect them to keep innovating and taking risks, because at some point they're going to say, I'm going to guard what I've got and get away from me, right?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up outmigration, because the studies do show that higher tax rates do lead to outmigration. And the people that are already leaving Michigan, which they are going to states with lower taxes. And the studies show that states with even higher taxes than Michigan, they are seeing more outmigration than Michigan is. If that tax rate increases, we're going to see more people leaving the state. That's just kind of how this works here.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. You can look at California. They keep cranking up taxes, and people keep leaving. They have a net negative migration in California for the first time in years, and more people are leaving because Gavin Newsom and his policies are awful. But the same is true in Illinois. Watch what happens in New York City. There will be an outmigration from the demand of more taxes. I mean, it's pretty predictable, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up California and New York and those other high tax states, because if Michigan passes this measure, if they have a top income tax rate of 9.25%, Michigan will actually be right alongside those high tax states for having one of the highest top income tax rate in the nation.
You know, I'm looking at so if you add 9.25 to your federal rate, some local municipalities have, 0.5% or 1% income tax rates. You start adding that all up, we're going to start looking like Canada or Europe. And how's it going in Europe right now? They have 100 million more people, and their GDP is a fraction of ours. There's no innovation comes out of Europe anymore. They've ruined the place.
You know, I'd actually rather talk about what's happening in America because most states are seeing this as a problem. They are seeing that really high taxes are stifling innovation, they're stifling jobs.
Right.
So, a lot of states are actually bringing down their income tax rates. Since 2021, we've actually
Except
had
one.
23 states that have brought down their income tax rates.
One state in America that I'm aware of in the last 2 years raised income tax. One. And I'm
Yeah,
sitting
I
in
think
it.
that's right. In the last 4 years, it's only been about three of them. It is not the direction that most states are going. Michigan would be going against the trend. While everyone else is trying to be more competitive, Michigan is raising those rates.
Yeah. So the answer should be absolutely no on this. Michigan is, when it comes to recessions, two states take it on the chin worse than any. Michigan and Nevada. I mean, you go back and look at the charts. Michigan, unemployment and problems, Michigan and Nevada are plagued worse than any other state. This would be a compounding factor. I know people don't understand compound interest, but this would be a compounding factor on misery in Michigan if we do something like this. How do you stop it? How do you stop these fools from, oh yeah, tax the rich, get out your pitchforks, tax the rich, and then there are no rich. Everybody's medium.
I mean, the thing that I would say is that the intentions here seem to be very good. They care about education, they care about children, but there are better ways to raise this revenue. The income tax is one of the most, it causes the most drag on the economy. It's corporate income taxes and the individual income tax. Other tax types tend to have a little less effect. So if you have to raise revenue, you can do it elsewhere, but we also need to step back and figure out if this spending is needed or if there's other ways to move around the revenue we already have.
Yeah, well, I would say North Carolina, $30 billion less than their annual budget. Same for Georgia. Georgia's a similar size state. North Carolina's a bit larger. Pennsylvania, $20 billion less in their annual budget than the state of Michigan. They're a larger state. So I don't think we need to raise revenue in Michigan at all. We just have to start using it effectively and stop squandering the money here. Maybe I'm just a naysayer, but I'll give you the last word. More taxes, not the answer. Last word to you, Janelle.
Yeah, I would just say, even though the intentions are good, we need to think about the consequences of these types of policies. Michigan would be going against the trend while everyone else is becoming more competitive. This would really be a drag on Michigan's economy and make it stand out in a bad way from the rest of the country.
Well, there you have it. Janelle, greatly appreciate you being here. We're going to keep an eye on it. Michigan's the only state to raise income tax. Not a smart play when states like Tennessee and Texas and Florida are playing a different game. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. When we come back, Ivy will be here. She's geared up for winter. She loves this stuff. How about you? I'll be right back. You know, you get big, deep, cold blast like this, the whole world goes crazy, mostly inside your house because everybody stays inside. Hey, how you doing? Get to know your friends and family a lot better. Ivy's with me this morning. Ivy, good morning. It's cold out there. We're going to be packed in the house. Hope everybody gets along.
Good morning. Generally, we're all packed in the house anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, but we can't even kick the kids outside. I feel bad. Get out of the house.
Yeah, you don't even want to let, the dogs are like,
Yeah.
do I really need to go out there and go potty?
Yeah, the cats look out and say, nah, pass.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not even looking. And what was it, 5 below last time I looked here this morning? A little bit of breeze. Schools are all closed. But we're getting the good part of this deal. I mean, you heard me talking to the meteorologist from Weather Nation earlier.
Yeah.
Some of the places in America could see an inch or more of ice. That breaks
Wow.
everything.
Well, we saw that result in northern Michigan area, which got really hit hard
But
last year.
nothing like that. Trust me, that wasn't an inch of ice. That's a quarter to a half an inch.
Yeah.
You get to an inch of ice, the weight is so dramatic. Power lines are down, big trees come down, houses get hit. You're without power for a long time. Thankfully, your husband always has this house prepared for just such an emergency.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that generally when you're not thinking about those things and then disaster strikes,
It reminds me.
you need to make sure that you are, prepared for the unexpected.
Yeah,
so.
when we first met a long time ago, you open this one drawer at the house, you're like, why do you have, like 12 things of cough medicine? Why do you have all this stuff? And I said, well, just because in case for emergency, right?
I think we still have those, boxes full, by the way.
And then she says, why are we buying more flashlights? It's always why. We don't need more flashlights. Well, in case the power's out for a month.
Somehow the flashlights in our home seem to disappear. I don't know what the deal is with that, but I've literally bought more new flashlights in the last year.
And then the ones you find don't work. How is that? How do you find the flashlight? It's like,
It's always good to do a check on that. But there are some things that you really should prepare for and really always have and do a check probably at least a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Do you have flashlights? Do you have extra batteries for those flashlights? If you do, how long have you had those batteries?
How are we on batteries?
We're good on batteries. We
Right,
just restocked, but it's good to even check the batteries because if you've had them for years and years, they may not be good anymore.
Right.
Make sure that you have extra food and water. If you are on a sump pump system or something like that, and your water, your power turns off, how are you going to have access to water? So make sure that you have that, especially like dry goods, things that you can make that don't require heating. Or if you do, there's lots of little crate camping stoves that you can buy that you can use indoors. You can heat up water. You can even utilize those like camping meals, which are a little bit more expensive. But in an emergency situation, you might need that if you can't get to the grocery store, or maybe at the grocery store, stock up a little bit more on your dry goods so that you can have something to eat.
And don't
if you're out
forget-
of power what were we up north? I think they were out of power for a month in some places.
They were. In some places,
So-
they were after the ice storm. So, and that's what you're going to face here. Not the big cities and so forth. They'll work quick. Make sure you have a bag of dog food or cat food, too.
Back
because
up
otherwise,
pet food, absolutely.
they're
yeah.
going to share a sandwich with you. You
Right.
know, and that might be the
Well,
only
you don't
sandwich at the
necessarily want to
house.
give them your food, so make sure you have
No,
extra.
I don't want to give them my food.
Right, exactly. But great things like granola bars, nuts, dried fruit, always good. Make sure that you actually have a battery-powered, weather radio.
Yeah, that's
If you
important. We have one of
can't-
those.
If you can't turn on your TV, or if you can't charge your phone, everything is dead. How are you going to know what's going on?
Right.
Extra prescription medications and first aid supplies. Hey, if you are about to run out of your high blood pressure medicine or whatever it may be, make sure you have enough to get through unknown circumstances. Baby necessities. This is one that you don't really think about. I don't think about because we don't have a baby in the home. But for those who have young children, make sure you have enough diapers, enough formula if you're utilizing that.
Well, I am getting older.
Right. Well, that might be an adult diaper situation. We'll have to have that talk later. Heating fuel. If you have a indoor heating, whatever they're called. I don't know if you can use a heater buddy inside, but
I think you can. Those are ventless, but you got to be really careful with that.
really careful.
Carbon monoxide is a real thing that kills a lot of people every year.
Well, that goes to, like if you have a generator, don't put it in your garage. Put it outside of your garage,
Exactly.
several feet away. Make sure that
It's vented.
exhaust is not coming back into your home because it will
Exactly.
kill you. It will
Yeah.
kill your animals.
Yeah.
And we do lose a lot of people every year when it gets brutal cold to those types of things because people don't realize that, they're
dangerous.
They're
We
killing
lost people
themselves.
down at the Faster Horses country music event here a couple of years ago because their generator fed back into the RV they were sleeping in. Remember that? Terrible story. So
that was
just
terrible.
What she's saying here, and trust me, she's the angel of this house. She makes sure everybody's got what they need and protects people. So when she gives advice, you should listen. I do, because if you don't, you get swatted.
Wow.
Not exactly, but you know what I mean.
Sometimes, being the safety Sam isn't always popular.
Safety Sam.
But it is important to
Somebody
make sure
talking to
you're
you?
prepared. Yes, the cat.
See, can't go outside, so she just wants to be on your lap.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So interesting, though. Cold weather. It is winter, so just prepare.
Yeah, there it is. I appreciate that. And the other thing is, remember this: when it gets this cold, your ice melt doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So
Yeah, that's the other thing. Be very careful. I think you mentioned this
can you
earlier.
believe that Anthony
going outside? Yeah.
Anthony, when Doolin was on the line waiting to get on, Anthony asked if he could sue us because he fell in his can out there a few days ago.
Gosh.
Yeah, he inquired about suing us, Ivy.
How is it our fault?
Yeah.
Well, Doolin said, are you
not.
sure Steve didn't push you? Because Steve was standing right there.
He did not. He would never.
No, what Doolin said is clear and obvious. He said snow and ice in Michigan are clear and obvious. You can't sue over that. So if he falls on his can again, I'm just going to laugh and kick him and walk away.
Oh my
If you kick me, then.
Kick him when he's down.
Yeah, then you're getting into like assault and stuff like that.
Right. Salt. Yeah, salt works. Anyhow. All right, folks, just keep warm out there. And honestly, be careful because this forecast keeps changing. At first, we had nothing to do with this storm. Now it's pushed in. We could get a fair amount of snow across the southern part of the lower peninsula. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. Ivy will be here to protect me. I hope you have somebody like that in your life. Ivy, love you.
Love you too, Steve.
There you go. Can we check the flashlights? Do we really have batteries? Are you sure? We'll look into that. All right, there's you back. Well, I will say again, I think Jack Smith's performance yesterday was weak. Weak. His answers were weak. And, of course, the Democrats stood there trying to smooth it all over and make him some sort of a hero that he was not and is not. Please support the great people that make this program possible every single day. If you're tired of juggling powders, pills, and capsules, I get it. Longevity Wellness simplifies your routine with an all-in-one nutritional shake that supports joints, brain health, digestion, and immune function. It really is great. Tastes great, easy to use, built for real life. LongevityWellness.co. Use the promo code Gruber for an exclusive listener discount, LongevityWellness.co. This is the complete nutritional shake. If you're on one of those GLP-1s and you don't want to lose muscle and bone, this is the solution. If you got a kid in sports, they're going to love it. Mine does. If you just want to have a good supplemental bit of nutrition in the middle of the day, it's perfect. It's real ingredients, good stuff. LongevityWellness.co. I say that because our sponsors in conservative conversations often get muffled, muted, right? And you don't want that. So we are out here every single day talking about our great partners, and we appreciate you. And we appreciate you on Free for All Friday. Love the callers. And remember, you can follow us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, all of them. Make sure you follow. And one more thing before you go, YouTube is the best place. YouTube is the best place, and Anthony has a QR code for those of you streaming anywhere else. It is the best place to get this program, he says. It's a growing community. Great conversation there every day. So for the folks on YouTube, thank you for all you do. For the folks on Getter, thank you for what you do. And X and Facebook, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'm sure next week will be quiet. Next week is going to be the quiet week we've been waiting for here in 2026. I'm sure of it. Fight the good fight, keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is the Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you can save America.